All right. Good afternoon. Good evening if you're over where Nicholas is. Good morning if you're on the other side of the world, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to say, but whenever we start these live streams, where I am right now is afternoon. And today I'm back with Nicholas. We've got Coby Munsey with us. Welcome, Coby.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and you are in my time zone. So good
I am.
afternoon to you.
Yes. Good afternoon to you.
Coby's going to join us in some interesting conversation today. We're going to be talking about, just some lighthearted topics, like always. Today we will be discussing the passing of Pope Francis and also a controversial Christianity Today article concerning whether Jesus was crucified with nails or not. We got a lot to talk about there. But what I found out right before we went live here is that Coby, not only is he a different denomination than me, I'm Baptist and Coby is Presbyterian, but he also supports a different baseball team. I'm a Phillies fan, as a lot of you know, and I found out Coby is unfortunately an Atlanta Braves fan. So that was a little bit of a downer, but we just found out that we both dislike the Mets pretty much at the same level. So that's good. We found something to unify on. That's good.
And meanwhile, I know none of them.
Yeah. So what sport do you like out there in,
Ireland?
Yeah.
I'm mainly a boxing and MMA guy. I don't think that's a surprise to many people.
No, that's the good thing about baseball. We may dislike each other, but we don't beat each other up. Typically.
Sometimes.
Yeah, typically. They might throw a baseball at your head or something, right?
Right.
Sometimes they do have people clearing the benches, but I find baseball, even if they clear the benches, very few all-out fistfights end up taking place. But MMA and boxing, that sort of thing, that's woof. So when you follow that, do you have like certain people you root for?
Yeah. It depends on who's fighting. Like, I don't really like. It's not like a football team where like I follow one particular fighter. But I'm also training for my own boxing fight in the future. So
say that one more time. It might what?
I'm also training for my own boxing fight in the future.
Oh, you really are?
Yes, not like a pro level fight, but I want to have one official fight. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
One fight. Is that just like, okay, I'll see what it's like, and if I survive,
just something I've always wanted to tick off my bucket list before I'm 40 and say, yeah, I did that. So.
Are you gonna fight Jake Paul?
Here, I tell you one thing. People don't give Jake Paul his credit. He is a big boy. He would probably not
he
be
is.
out.
Yeah, he is. He is. I just think it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
I'm already enjoying the chat here. We've got Alan. I believe Alan sent me a Cardinals hat, and he's saying, "Yeah, and the Braves beat my Cardinals." Condolences, Alan. I'm sorry to hear that.
I sure did.
But congratulations, Coby. You did get a victory today.
Yep.
I've had mine on the Phillies. They're playing the Mets right now, so I hope the Phillies can somehow pull it out. But I saw someone else say, "Yeah, Samantha here. Go Padres!" And I'm curious if Samantha, if you're out there in California. I know sometimes, like I'm a Phillies fan. I live up in New England now, so sometimes it's people who root for teams that they don't live near them anymore. But Phillies are kind of close to where I grew up, so that's why I'm a Phillies fan. All right, so let us know where you're watching from. Always great to see people watching from all over the place. As we're kind of getting started here too, I want to give some background info on Coby's channel. and I'll pull that up here so everybody can see it. We've got Rural Bible Reviews. So how long ago did you start this channel, Coby?
Oh, probably 2 years ago, right at. Hang on, I'll tell you exactly when. I have to, if I go to my channel and look, I'll see when my
Scroll
first
back.
video was. Let's see, my first video was 3 years ago. Okay. So, yeah, it's been 3 years.
Okay, 3 years.
Yeah.
Does it seem like it's gone fast?
It really does. There was a stretch, that I just got past that. I was trying to do videos weekly, and then I had a stretch where my work got a little crazy, and then my mother-in-law passed away, and then about, I don't know, 9 months later, my mom passed away. So there was a stretch where I wasn't really recording, and then my wife got a wild hair, and we moved across state, and so. But I'm trying to get back in the swing of things to where I'm recording weekly again. I did drop a video today. I usually do them on Thursday, but I wanted to drop it today. That way I could tell people about us doing this today. And I'm leaving out tomorrow which is my recording day. I'm leaving out tomorrow for the conference. So yeah.
Okay. Now, we were talking before we started here about your favorite translations. You review a lot of ESV and NASB Bibles, right, on your channel, because those are your top two translations you use the most.
Right. And I've got a lot of LSB reviews too.
Oh, right, that's right.
Yeah.
The
So
family member of the NASB.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. The cousin.
The cousin, yeah. Yeah. Some people would say it's the best child in the family,
Yeah.
and others would say it's the odd man out, right? The
Yeah.
LSB.
Well, it depends on who you talk to. They might say the 2020 is the odd man out. So
That's
that
what I would say.
tends to be, yeah. The NASB 95 is where everybody is kind of okay, right?
mhm.
And then the NASB 2020 is one direction, and the
Mhm.
LSB is kind of the other direction.
Yep.
Yeah. So we know which direction you prefer.
I have some 2020s, and I've read through it a little bit. I haven't read the whole thing. I haven't ran into any issues that people talk about, so I don't know. I don't want to judge one way or the other. I like to find out things for myself. I don't go by popular opinion.
Yeah.
Um, I want to figure it out on myself, for myself. But I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything yet.
Yeah. I think people a lot of times make a bigger, and I don't mean to belittle people's feelings, but I do think people can overreact. Nicholas and I did a video, in case people don't know, on the ESV update.
Yeah.
And I think it was really helpful just to go through those updates and actually
Mhm.
show people what they actually are. Because again, people reacted really strongly when
Yep.
they heard that the ESV was updating. So
Yep.
did you have a reaction to that, Coby, when you heard about it?
At first, I was like, "Really? You just did one? It hasn't been that long." And then I actually went and printed off all the updates and looked through them, and I was like, "This is much ado about nothing." I
Yeah.
mean, it's not really that many updates. Um, the one that I kind of wish they would have put them in the footnotes, maybe, instead of doing like a whole new update. Maybe put things in footnotes or something like that. But of course, the Genesis 3:16, that was the big one that everybody, had got mad that they'd switched, and now they've switched it back. And so, people are never going to be happy. You're not going to make everyone happy no matter what. The people that wanted it changed are now complaining, saying, "Well, you just caved into, to peer pressure." And the people that didn't want it changed are saying, "Well, now you're, caving into peer pressure." So it's like, really, guys, it's, just read what you like.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. My thought sometimes is I get frustrated. I feel like people and again, I'm not trying to belittle people. I get where they're coming from, and I can sympathize if you have an opinion about it. But I do feel like we are prone to complaining and grumbling.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It's like
100%.
we're so blessed
Oh
to
yeah.
have these
Yeah.
translations
Yeah.
and to have scholars who keep working on them. Like, you know, who am I to complain? I didn't create that translation. It's all these
That's
people
right.
who put that work into it, and also the funds in order to make those translations available. So, I think we should really just take a step back and try to be more grateful. A
Exactly.
little sermon there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can tell you one of my favorite rebinds, and it's my actual first rebind that I ever got, is this one right here. It's a PTL rebind. It's the ESV verse by verse preaching Bible by Jeff Ross. To me, he is the best to do it. Just my opinion. I haven't seen everybody's rebinds, but I've seen a lot of work. I had him do the solus down the spine as a blind stamp. It's the 2016 edition. I'm not getting rid of this. So,
There you
there
go.
you go.
Now that's Post Tenebris Lux.
Yes, Jeff Ross.
Yep. Just so everybody knows, if you're looking for that particular rebinder, and you do have that on your channel, right?
That Bible, yes, I did review it. I did a before and after. I reviewed it when I first got it, when it had the thin goat skin from China, because it is one of their Chinese prints. And then I had it rebound, and then I did a review of it again after the fact. So
nice. That's what I have.
I was going to say, I'd recommend the audience go subscribe to Coby's channel, go watch that review, because unfortunately, Coby, we didn't really get to see it because your green screen made it look invisible.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right,
I'm sorry.
Oh, I saw it a little bit, I thought, but oh, that's a green screen? That's not your actual. I'm just kidding. I figured that was. But I have I know what you're saying. Some of those ESV text blocks, they're actually, I really like the format, but some of them could use a better cover. So that's what I had. I love the large print thin line, not the reference one, just the large print thin line. It's a great size, and I had a rebinder put a new cover on it, and it just improves the quality and the longevity of it.
Yep. Yeah. The one I reviewed today, I'm going to have it rebound. It's actually right there on the thumbnail. You can see it. The personal size reference. It's a great little block. It just needs a remind. Now, I probably won't do the bells and whistles. I'll probably do a more of the rustic one, like Jeff does the Isaiah line, where it doesn't have like all the stampings and all that on it. Scriptura is another one that does that rustic type remind. And then narrow gate.
They do a great job.
Yep. So something like that. Just because I feel like that's a beater Bible. Like I don't think I'd want to have art gilding on it or anything like that. I just throw a leather cover on it, maybe tab it up to the block and be done. So,
Nicholas, do you have any rebinds?
I had one in the past, but I give it away to someone. So no, I've none at the moment. I like rebinds, but I've kind of got out of the way of having premium Bibles. Like, I still have a few, but I've kind of got out of the way of it. Like, I just prefer, I don't want to say cheap ones, but like pretty much what Coby was saying, they're like little beaters now, because I'm carrying them around.
You don't have to worry about them getting messed up.
Yeah, like this wee ESV, like it's just the buffalo leather, and it's getting pretty beat up. It's held together with stuff, and to be honest, I'm kind of enjoying seeing the signs of it getting beat up. So
yeah, I know what you're saying, and some people, even with their high end Bibles, will use them and really wear them out, and that's great. I love seeing a Bible that's well worn.
Yep.
So I do see, just kind of circling back to our baseball introductions here. We got Carrie. She lives up near where I am, so great to see you, Carrie. And she's a Red Sox fan. Not surprising, up here in New Hampshire. And then I saw someone say, "Oh yeah, Tony said go D-backs," but then he said He said, "Hi from England." So I don't know the story there because the D-backs are not from England. That's
No.
Arizona's team. But great to see you over there in England, Tony. And also, Colton said hi. He was our guest the last couple weeks, so good to see you there, Colton.
Yeah.
And Colton might give some input if he has time in the live chat on our discussion. We're going to be getting into this soon here, talking about the passing of the Pope. And before, just say one more person I see here too. A couple minutes ago. Oh, yep, we got Oregon, and the one I saw a couple minutes ago here. It's a neighbor of yours, Coby?
I don't know. I don't know
Maybe
what part
not.
of
Not
Tennessee.
everybody lives near each other in Tennessee.
But I see he's got an Auburn flag on his thumbnail, so that's college, football.
Okay.
I'm originally from Georgia, so I'm a Georgia Bulldogs fan. So yeah, he can, no Auburn.
Okay.
Let me just offend people right off the bat here.
Go for it.
Well, you might as well get used to it because I have a feeling talking about the subject we're getting into here, we're gonna, there's no way to make everybody happy.
No.
We enter this conversation with a little bit of fear and trembling, I'm sure, because it's like, exactly how do you talk about this in a way that's respectful? I did put on our thumbnail, this is Protestant Perspective. All of us would generally fall in the category, all of us here who are talking on camera would fall in the category of Protestant. So Nicholas is Baptist. I always forget, Nicholas, you don't like to use the term Reformed, but that might be a little bit more of how you might describe your theology.
To save confusion, I am Reformed. I just don't go around calling myself Reformed. I prefer to identify myself as a Christian. Yeah.
Whereas Coby does go around calling himself Reformed, right?
No, I mean, I really don't.
Okay.
I'm a Christian before I'm anything. Now, if people press and ask, I'll say, well, yeah, I'm Reformed. I'm a Presbyterian, PCA. I do like to joke about it. I'm kind of like Keith Foskey, hashtag superior theology. I even mentioned that on my video today. So,
he says that about Presbyterians, but Keith is not Presbyterian, is he?
No. And he's not even a 1689 Baptist. He's a first LDC guy. So
1646.
Yep.
Yeah,
There you go.
Nicholas has not disclosed yet which year confession he ascribes to.
It's because, as I hinted last week, I've had a shift on my view in baptism. I would now hold to infant baptism. So.
Oh, so you're not Baptist?
Well, I'm not Presbyterian yet either, but yeah.
Give me time. I'm going to work on him.
Wow.
I will be going there, but I'm still.
Man, I'm outnumbered now. I can't believe this. Good thing we're not talking about baptism today. I'm really outnumbered here. Okay.
Well, you were outnumbered last week too. Don't worry.
I just didn't know.
Well, on a different topic, technically. So.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, well, let me just throw this up here. Thank you, Colton. He has my back. So if for some reason we bring up baptism, I've got Colton on my side. And I'm sure quite a few others in my audience. Yeah. Thank you. I see another person there, Ryan. Thank you. They're all the Baptists coming into the comments now. We're here.
Right. That's all right. If they're Reformed Baptists, just keep reforming. You'll get there.
You get there. Yeah, I haven't even gotten to that point. I told Coby earlier, I'm reformed. If anything, if you could call me maybe Reformed light, I have somewhat of a beard, but I still don't drink or smoke cigars. So I'm not really in that Reformed arena yet. Oh dear. All right. Well, guys, let's talk about this issue. When did you find out about the Pope that he died. When did you hear right away?
Me or Coby?
Oh, either one of yeah. Go ahead, Nicholas. You can kick us off.
Literally the day off. Obviously, I'm ahead of you guys in the States, so I heard fairly early in the morning. So like I think by the time it had happened, it was the wee hours of the morning for me. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And you too, Coby?
Yeah, pretty much. My I set my alarm for work for my phone. I use it, so um, just saw the notification. My local news channel has an app, and I think they posted something about it or something. I don't remember exactly how, but it was basically a notification saying that he had passed. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say I saw it early too. I think probably because it was just such big news. Ironically, I saw on X. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the account that says what's the name of it? It's something like has the has the Pope died today? I think it's like the name of the account is has the Pope and
No.
yeah, I wish I could remember exactly what it's called. It's something like that because people obviously for a long time have been questioning whether he's still alive, not just recently with his health, but I think even before that. So
Right.
they would always say, "Nope, he's still alive today." Well, earlier that day, they said, "Yeah, he's still alive today," but then by later that day, they had to come out and say, "No, he did actually pass away."
Yeah.
So I think you heard like he met with J.D. Vance. That's one of the things I've been seeing. He met with the Vice President of the United States, and I noticed
And
people actually kind of taking jabs. You can tell there's a lot of political thought out there, even with our politicians. Some of them, like Joe Biden, was Catholic, and now J.D. Vance is Catholic, our vice president. Um, so yeah, you saw that too, where people were saying some negative things about Vance.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw more the joking side of it. I didn't
yeah, yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
see any of the jabbing, but I've seen a few people, it's probably not the best time they've done it, but I saw a few people, joking, oh, it's funny how, the Pope meets JD Vance and the next moment he's dead, sort of thing. But it was like, oh,
Yeah,
maybe wait a while before you joke about that.
I
Yeah,
saw that too.
and this is where I think we could show our sympathy with Catholics, all of us, because even you know Babylon B, I think, had some articles that came out uh, not long after, and it's tough to know how to best approach those things, but it's often better to just give it some time, right?
Yeah,
And
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that should be
oh,
the practice on all things controversial, because like normally whenever we're reacting to stuff here in this channel, it's either been a week or at least a few days before it happens.
yeah,
And Keith Foskey did a video on it today. I think, well, it was released today anyway. I'm not sure when he did it, but he also released a statement and says, "Look, I normally wait 48 hours before I speak in these things." And he kind of called people to remember that we don't have to go so far in our sympathies that it makes us, as Protestants, look like we're compromising our beliefs. But he was also sort of chastising those people that were taking the opportunity to be like, ding dong, the witch is dead, sort of thing.
yeah,
So
mm.
yeah.
Yeah. I think yeah, it's a tough thing, but I think Keith Foskey, I think, has a really thoughtful approach to things. But
Mm-hmm.
he's not scared to tease. And I was going to say too, I think Babylon B, in their defense, I mean, they tease everything.
Yes.
Nothing is sacred with them.
No. No.
So it's nothing personal when
No.
they choose to tease, But still,
Yeah.
makes you take a step back and say you gotta wonder sometimes about the best approach.
Yeah.
Um,
We should never
yes,
rejoice in someone's death. I mean, no matter who
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Now that's a really important point to bring up because I did get the sense that, and I get it, there are strong theological differences between Protestants and Catholics. Some
Mm-hmm.
were quick to immediately pounce and be
Mm-hmm.
like, I wouldn't necessarily say they were rejoicing, but it did seem like they were going to take this as an opportunity to say that the Pope is not in heaven
Yeah.
from their perspective.
I would even go as far as to say there definitely were some on Acts that were definitely rejoicing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep, I saw that too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
You're always going to get a
So
mixed bag, but
Mm.
yeah, it's nuts.
yeah, yeah, and it's interesting now. Kind of, there's this balance here because on one hand, we do want to be sympathetic, and obviously, every death of a person is something very serious. But at the same time, we do have our beliefs, and
Mm.
we don't want to compromise those either.
Right.
So, how to talk about these things can be really difficult. What are your thoughts though on? Do you feel like Pope Francis was? And I know this is a Protestant perspective, so everybody understands out there in the audience. We're going to have a perspective that might be different for sure than Catholics. Now, I've even heard Catholics criticize Pope Francis.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, do you both feel like um, that with him passing, there's an opportunity for maybe some good things to take place in the Catholic Church? Or do you feel like Francis actually was doing some good things? I mean, do you have any general thoughts on that?
Do you want to go first, brother, and then I can chime in?
I think
I
he
mean,
wants
there's
you to go first, Nicholas.
I can if you want, yeah. If you want to clap
no.
with
I mean, there's always an opportunity for something good to come out of it whenever it comes time to elect a new pope, if you will. Um, but it doesn't matter how good of a person they may seem to be or may be, unless they repent and believe the gospel. And, like I was showing my Bible, and it's the solus. It's not, faith alone. And like they like to do, the Catholics, they will tell you they believe in the solus, but then they will add to it. And there is no addition. It's, salvation, through Christ alone. I mean, that's it. So no matter how good or conservative or whatever label you want to put on this new pope um, it won't matter. Um, just like you'd mentioned J.D. Vance earlier, and I know a lot of Christians like to rah him up. I'm like, yeah, but if he's truly Catholic and he buys into the theology and the doctrine, and you know, is he truly saved? I mean, now granted, we don't know man's heart. Only God does, but you know, we do inspect fruit, and you can't grow apples on a pear tree. So, you know, um, yeah, it's tough. Um, but I look at it from a perspective of, people put the Pope, and not all Catholics do this. Don't hear what I'm, saying here, thinking that that's how I think all Catholics are. But they put him on such a pedestal, they almost put him equal with Christ. I've seen that extreme of it. So, but we can do that too, as like Reformed folks. I see people talk about John Calvin more than I do Jesus sometimes. I'm like, you've got the wrong JC. You don't need to be talking about John Calvin. You need to be talking about Jesus Christ. Or Spurgeon. Like I'm, even though I'm Presbyterian, Spurgeon's probably one of my favorite dead theologians. Um, but still, he's still a man, and even the best of men are men at best. So, and we have to remember that.
Yeah, it's good. Thanks for sharing that. What about you, Nicholas?
Uh, this is a hard one because even speaking to my Roman Catholic friends, they are all very divided on Francis. You've obviously got people that think, and I apologize, folks, because I'm aware of it this time. If you hear snoring in the background, it's my dog Rolo. I haven't fallen asleep on you, I promise. But talking to them, like with some of them, Francis was known and was championed as like a real man that he loved the poor. That was his mission. Um, and he did do a lot of good things for the poor. I'll not take that away from him. However, there were those within Rome that viewed Francis as a very liberal pope, and they are hoping for a more traditional pope who will bring back the Latin Mass, things of that order. The only problem with that is, now my numbers may be slightly off here, but the last time I read this, I think that Francis had, I think, placed in like maybe something like 80 something bishops into the College of Cardinals. So now, whenever it comes to the choosing of the new pope during the conclave, it's primarily going to be bishops in there that are of Francis's choosing, so men that he has a lot in common with. So that doesn't mean that they won't get a more traditional pope, but it does mean that it's more than likely going to be a pope in the same line of Francis. So someone who even Roman Catholics themselves see as a liberal pope. So Francis has a mixed legacy, even in the Catholic side of things.
Now, would you say, Nicholas, that Francis's approach was beneficial to Protestant Catholic relations, or would another approach be more beneficial?
You could say beneficial in the sense that Francis wasn't as hard on some of like Roman Catholic actual teaching where Protestants are anathematized. So you could say yes in that regard, but um, I don't know overall that actually improved Catholic Protestant relations. But because I say Francis, from an apologist point of view, Francis made it very, very hard on the Roman Catholic apologists because they often said things, and Roman Catholic apologists had to run behind them, going, "Wait, wait, wait! He wasn't speaking ex cathedra. He wasn't speaking infallibly. He wasn't speaking dogmatically."
Yeah.
So Francis did depart from a lot of Rome's like core teachings, but from their perspective, he didn't do it in an infallible way. So, I don't mean this to come across in a bad way, but I think there's a lot of Roman Catholics who are not glad he's dead, but glad that there's going to be a new pope because, as I say, a lot of them felt that Francis was very liberal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I heard one church leader in the Catholic Church. He might have been a cardinal. I'm not sure, but he was being interviewed, and he said that he's hoping the next pope will be kind of a mixture of some of the best traits in the last few popes. Like he mentioned, kind of the leadership qualities of John Paul, and the more what I kind of saw when what he said is like more of a doctrinal emphasis and a sharp way of teaching. Uh, um, more like Benedict, being a little more clear in the way that he teaches, and then having the heart. That's what he emphasized about Francis, is that Francis had, the right heart from his perspective, very compassionate person.
Yeah,
So I think what he was basically saying is that the past few popes have had good qualities. It would be nice to have a pope who has the best traits of each of those popes.
yeah.
Um, so we'll see.
Well,
In
I know
terms of,
on the
go ahead.
more. Sorry, I was just going to say, I know in the more conservative end that a lot of Roman Catholics are hoping that Cardinal, oh goodness, his name's escaped me. Cardinal Robert Serra, they're kind of hoping he'll become the next pope because he's more traditional.
Where is he from exactly? I could look it up.
Yeah, I want to say New Guinea, maybe.
Okay. It's a rural village in what was in French Guinea in 1945. I'm still not sure where that is.
Well, I got Guinea right anyway.
Yeah. That's not helping me out. I need a map.
Unless someone from the audience knows, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'd be curious what that cardinal would what kind of a approach he would take to things. I think anybody though who is more doctrinal, especially if they're hardlined, that would probably. And I maybe I'm wrong. I sense that's at least in our culture, there's a real push toward tradition. I'm even hearing more Catholics talk about kind of defending the Latin Mass, for example. So if that's true in America, I don't know what that means but the more they emphasize those distinct Roman Catholic teachings and emphases, that would make the relationships with Protestantism much harder.
It would, yeah,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
No, not just your opinion. Like if they do get a more traditional pope, which again I don't know if they will because the College of Cardinals really was like jam packed with Francis's men. If they do get a more traditional pope, you will probably see the my brain is doing away with me today. The Novus Ordo will probably be called back a little bit, and the traditional Latin Mass will probably be more prominent again because, from my knowledge, Francis actually not did away with, that's probably a bad way explained, but he put certain limits on the traditional Latin Mass because the majority of people that enjoyed the traditional Latin Mass were actually some of Francis's biggest critics. So
that gets into that, like, where he might be called liberal in certain ways, I guess.
Yep.
He was kind of more.
Gents, I'll be back with you in 1 second.
Oh, you're leaving?
Yep, just for a second.
He had enough of this conversation about the Pope, I guess. Let me see if I can just get it to where. There we go. All right. Nicholas left us, so we'll just have us two up here. Yeah, Nicholas, so I'll talk about him since he's not here. I'm going to say something. He actually, and I mean this in a good way, he really has a lot of interactions with Catholics, and always really does his best and makes a point of it that, when we disagree with someone, we should really know the best of their arguments.
Yes.
And we should never straw man people's arguments. Now, do you you have interaction sometimes with Catholics, would you say?
Not what I would consider diehard Catholics, not people that go all the time. The ones I've had the most interaction with, as far as like another religion, I guess you could say, and let me throw this grenade in here, is Mormons. There for a while, when I lived in my previous town, the Mormons there, they would, this was during the pandemic, they would Facebook friend people. They'd request them because they couldn't go door to door. Well, as soon as one of them would request me, all I had to do was look at their profile picture. Typically, they had on the tie. And I was like, oh, sure, I'll take them. They would go right into my inbox. Hey, would you like to hear about Jesus? And I'm like, sure. And there we'd go. So, but one good thing that happened out of that, I did get a Book of Mormon from one of them. I've always wanted one, but I wasn't about to request one from the website because I didn't want them having my information. So I talked one of them into giving me one, and I still have it. It's on my shelf. And I had some of them, challenging me, asking me questions. I said, well, let me get back with you. And so I read through the Book of Mormon and went through things because I wanted to know where their mindset was and how they thought the way they thought. I didn't want to just go after them. And, I mean, you could be sarcastic, and if you're out there and you're a Mormon, sorry, but I didn't want to go after the whole, well, what planet am I going to have, and I drink coffee. Is that okay? I know you guys don't believe in drinking coffee. Let's discuss why. I didn't want to go after the underhanded jabs. I wanted to go at it from a true theological standpoint, and why they think what they think and why it's wrong. So, but no, as far as Catholics go, I don't have a lot of interaction with Catholics. So
right, but it sounds like the approach you would take would be to understand where they're really coming from and not try to straw man or
because
just,
that's pointless. That's just pointless.
Yeah.
You also stand more chance to win someone over if you can accurately reflect their beliefs and tell them why it's wrong. If you just give them silly straw men that they've heard all their life, they just look at you like, you're making a caricature out of my faith. Go away.
Yep.
Well, up where I live, there are a lot of Catholics in the Northeast and even up here in New England. So I feel like I do have quite a bit of interaction. Now I'm pastoring a church plant, and there's probably at least one person in our church who is from a Catholic background, and I would say, it's just very common where we live. And so when you're around it a lot, now you mentioned Mormon, we have that, of course, up here too. But it really forces you to think through how you're going to discuss these matters. And this is one of the reasons, we like discussing, by the way, I was going to poll the audience, but we like discussing different theological issues and kind of getting these different perspectives. And so the title I had included Church Matters, because when we're talking about these different things, these are different issues related to the church. And I had told Nicholas early on that I thought maybe that could be a name for this series that we're doing, calling it Church Matters. So if in the audience, if you like that title, that could kind of become our working title for our program here, Church Matters.
I'll tell you another one, another good title, and it kind of plays off the name of your channel. It could be a Protestant perspective.
Protestant perspective, yeah. A Baptist perspective. I'm sorry. I'm going to give Nicholas a hard time now that I know he's not Baptist.
See, that's why I said Protestant. I was trying to, I tell you something that'd be interesting for you guys to discuss, because and you guys may not even run into this, but me being here in the South, what I run into a lot is the religion of everybody's a Christian.
Yeah.
You have a lot of that in the South. Everybody's a Christian.
That is more, I think, in the Bible Belt area where you get that a lot. Yeah.
Yep.
Up here, that's one of the good things, in a way, is if someone's a Christian here, it's much more of a conscious choice.
Right. Yeah. And I don't really, like I was telling you, I don't really have, a lot of Catholics, and where I did live, there was Mormons, but the city I moved to is actually, and this will give it away, where I live, Church of God International Headquarters is here. So there is a lot of Pentecostal churches up here, a lot. So
yep, we have some of that up here, but not like you have, I'm sure. Yeah.
Oh, it takes up a city block or more. And Lee University is located here, if you've ever heard of it. It's a Church of God college, but it's known for its choir, its arts, and everything. So, but yeah.
So, We don't have to say too much more, but I think a comment that we've talked about is, and I mentioned it a little bit earlier, how I see more of a push toward traditionalism.
Mhm.
And with that, I would even say, so for example, I mentioned up here we have a lot of Catholics. I had a Catholic tell me that her son started going to church with his family, and they ended up choosing an Orthodox church. Uh,
Hmm.
I think it's Russian Orthodox, and she actually told me, even though she's not going there because it's just not, she's not used to that. She's from a Catholic background. She said um, that there's a lot of new families at that church that are young, and
Mhm.
so I don't know if it's just anecdotal, but it does seem like there's a real influx right now toward these
Mhm.
very traditional denominations.
Mhm.
I'm seeing nodding of the head. Are you actually seeing that on in your contexts, both of you?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I've said this last while, and I'll let Kobe go after here, but I think for so long, and I'm probably going to start to sound like a broken record in this channel, but it really is true. I'm not throwing. Sometimes I think people confuse the term evangelical with what I'm saying, which is evangelicalism,
Mhm.
which I would put under a more broad category of very low church. It kind of looks more like you're attending a rock concert with smoke machines. You know, they don't treat the Lord's Supper very highly.
Mhm.
Those types of churches, and this may sound mean here, but I'm going to air quote and say churches. Those are the types of churches that young people used to flock to because it was seen as relevant, it was seen as fun.
Mhm.
That's not satisfying them anymore because there's only so long that can satisfy you. You need
Mhm.
your soul craves something deeper. Your soul craves God. Unfortunately, for a lot of young people, they don't know that there are high Protestant churches out there that do have reverence. They have good worship. They have divine liturgies. They have high reading and views of scripture. They don't notice that, so they go towards what they feel now is, because if someone came along and said to you, look, we've been here from the beginning, we've been here since Jesus existed, we are the ancient true church, we haven't changed. And to be fair to the Orthodox Church, they can show they really barely have changed at all. Now,
Mhm.
Rome's had some changes, but that type of thing really does attract young, especially young men who are then going to
Mhm.
be leading their families to church because they're now going to something that they see as being rock sure, something that's solid, something that's rich, something that feeds them. This is
Mhm.
where Protestants really do need to step up and say, hang on, we do have churches like that. We have churches
Mhm.
that do have high reverence, all of that. And I think the church at large will benefit from seeing these people move towards more traditional forms of worship because it will show Protestant churches that this is what young people are craving. Give them what they
Yep.
want.
Yep.
That's my view on it.
Yep.
Do you
I totally agree with that. Yeah.
do you
Um,
both? Uh, would you say, are both of you? If people were to come to your church, would they feel like it's more of a high church setting?
I'm in the midst of moving, but my current church, yes.
Okay.
my church, yes, um, we read a lot of scripture. We do prayers of confession.
Mm.
Um, we um, say the Lord's Prayer together every Sunday. Um, my previous Presbyterian church I was at, we took the Lord's Supper every Sunday. The one I'm at now, we do it the first Sunday of the month. Um, but it's a very serious moment. It's not a, willy nilly. Um,
Mm.
we um, we don't have children's church. The children come up for a message. The associate pastor will, give them a message that's geared towards them, but then they stay in the church.
Mm.
Um, you know, I believe they have youth group on Wednesday nights, but I don't think it's your pizza party and games. It's more of a, you know, high view of scripture. We're going to learn scripture. To me, I blame youth groups on mega churches and the laser shows and the smoke and fog because um, if if you're a teenager and you're used to that, then you think that's what grown church is supposed to look like. And I always laugh at Keith when he does his, the denominations meeting, and it's stereotypical what he does, but at the same time, it is so spot on.
Mm-hmm.
These mega churches with their laser shows and their cool band and whatever, and I'm like, guys, like my church, and I'm bragging a little bit, but anytime we sing, one, it's my favorite modern hymn. It's "In Christ Alone" by the Gettys. We've got a guy that plays violin, and just hearing him play that violin, it reminds me so much of the original version. But it's just so haunting hearing, and we have I don't even know if they call them a praise band, but but it's still congregational singing. They're not out singing us. I've been to some where it's like Nicholas said, it's a rock concert. If I want to be entertained in a Christian way, I'm going to go see Skillet in concert. But that's what I expect from Skillet.
Yep.
To be entertained. That's what I'm going for now. Now, John Cooper's also going to give you the gospel. He's a good Reformed guy. But
do you think John Cooper goes to a high church?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I would say he probably does.
There you go.
But you go to a concert to be entertained. That's what it's for. I don't go to church to be entertained. I go to church to worship God and to be fed on the Word of God. I don't go for fun and games. So, sorry, a little tangent there, but yes,
No.
I would consider my church a high church. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get what you guys really feel about these things. And yeah, the topic was, do we see kind of a move in that direction? Let me throw something else into this conversation that I think it's more just an observation, but it's something for us as Protestants that we have to deal with. With the Orthodox and the Catholics, I would say that that they do have a lot of consistency in their beliefs. Now, obviously, it's not as simple as they might want to portray it, because even within Catholicism, you can have quite a diversity of opinions about doctrinal matters, actually. But in terms of like the churches, I think there's a lot of similarity in terms of what they're going to promote. Whereas Protestantism, even if we say, okay, set aside all the modern, contemporary type worship, let's just take traditional worship, high church approach. You also have theological liberalism. Because I'm in New England. If I said I want to go to the Protestant church that is the most traditional, I'm very likely to end up, not always, but I'm likely to end up in a church that is liberal. It has all of those things you're talking about, as far as, going through the liturgy and doing a lot of these things that people are drawn to. But then on social issues, they're not following the clear, they're not following exactly what the Bible teaches on certain now they'll say, well, it's because the Bible teaches love. That's what they're going to answer. But anyway, my point being, if you're a young person and you're looking for something that's going to be robust and something that is going to be countercultural to the modern trends, you can see our problem as Protestants. If you even have a Protestant church that is conservative theologically, there's still, and at least where I live, there's still going to be this, I have to either go to this Protestant church or this Protestant church. Whereas if it's Catholic, it's a lot simpler. Or if it's Orthodox, it's a lot simpler. So I'm only making that as an observation, and to say these are the kinds of things we're having to deal with.
No, that's 100% accurate. And like Presbyterians, for example, if I just said, notice I kept saying PCA. Well, I say that for a reason.
Right.
Because I don't want somebody to walk into a PCUSA church. and be
Yeah.
like, well, why is there a lesbian pastor up there?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, but it can happen. You know, yeah, no, that's not how that works. You know, so that's why I always specify PCA. And if you follow me on X, and you'll see where I have Presbyterian, and then in parentheses I have PCA, because I
Yeah.
want people to
Those are
understand what my
very
mindset is.
similar sounding names too, so it can be
Yes,
really confusing.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Which there's a friend of mine that I've made friends with on X. He goes by the Happy Presbyterian. He's
Yeah.
OPC, but he's a great guy. Um, PCA, OPC, very similar. So now my church doesn't sing the Psalms. I wish they did. I'd like to see that incorporated more into what we do. Um, but there are some that think that's all you're supposed to sing. You know, just Psalms only. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say I haven't heard any. Um, I like to call them "Jesus is my boyfriend" songs from our church. I haven't heard any elevation. And forgive me, I just like to drop names. I haven't heard any elevation, any Bethel, any Maverick City Music, any Brandon Lake, any whoever.
Right.
You know, stuff. We sing solid old hymns or Sovereign Grace, Getty Music, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's very Christ centered, very theologically rich, which is how it should be. So,
Yep.
Now, would you say they're generally speaking, the PCA churches are similar to what your church is like? Is that what you would say?
Me?
No, I'm actually asking Coby.
Oh, yeah.
um, from what I've seen, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
The
But
two, let's say,
there are
I'd say
some
there's
that
some, yeah, yeah. Well, there's
some.
one that I know of that's in Nashville that's a very liberal PCA church.
Okay.
That they their pastor recently made the news. I wish I could think of his name, but he was very supportive of pro-choice,
Mm,
the LGBTQ
yeah.
whatever agenda, things like
Yeah.
that. But he was also in Nashville, which is a bigger city. So you know you want to come across more, and again they use that excuse of, well, we're just loving. Well, if you're
Mhm.
really loving, you're going to tell them to repent and believe the gospel. There comes a point in time where you have to draw a line in the sand. If you
Yep.
truly love them, you're going to tell them that they are dead in their, trespasses and sins, and they need to repent. You
Mm.
don't just open your arms and accept them. So,
Mm-hmm. So, Nicholas, what I mentioned about liberal churches in your neck of the woods, in your part of the world, whatever you call it over there,
Yeah.
what's it
No,
like?
Ireland's fairly well. The north is fairly. We're primarily high church, even
Yeah.
to this day.
And if you walk into a typical church, you just like go, what are you likely to encounter as far as theology?
Straight up the gospel. In all honesty, like I know that sounds like the answer you're expecting, but honestly, you're going to see
Yeah.
the Lord's Supper on a, it will depend church to church. Some do it every week, some do it, first Sunday of the month, some maybe even do it. I really don't like this, but some do it just 4 times a year. You'll have that. You will have primarily choirs often. You will
Mhm.
see hardened wooden pews. You're going to see the pulpit front and center. You're going to see,
Now, this is
yeah,
Northern
just
Ireland,
yes,
so it would be
down.
different than
Well, down south is you would be hard pushed to find a Protestant church. You're
right.
probably going to find a Roman Catholic chapel. So
Now, I heard someone say that Northern Ireland is like the Bible Belt of Europe. Is that is that accurate at all?
uh it's not inaccurate, but we are becoming increasingly infected, is the word I will use, by I hate to say it, but American-style churches.
Which
It's
is
So
true.
what you just said is if you walk into the typical church, it's not like American church.
or churches, so the churches that are already here and built, but
Okay.
we are starting to find now like American-style churches that they're by, you guys call them malls, but over here we'll call them shopping centers. We're finding now people from America are coming over buying shopping centers slash malls and turning it into a mega church.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. So yeah. Well, it's just interesting because what you guys are dealing with, both of you, is very different than what the context that I'm in.
Yeah.
Mm.
We do have, like contemporary churches up here, but honestly, that's not my biggest concern. To just be honest with you, even though I hear what you guys are saying, and I think these are important things to consider. I think it's liberalism
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
that is a big thing up here, but also, we are having to, like I said, traditionally a lot of people are Catholic, and then there is Orthodox, and of course we have these other groups you mentioned earlier, Coby, Mormonism. That's certainly
Mhm.
up where we are. So I guess if I had to characterize where we are, it's very challenging.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
spiritually very challenging. It's not hopeless. God is definitely, doing amazing work up in New England. There's a lot of
Mhm.
encouragement. There's some great churches up here. And like I
Yeah.
said earlier, if you're going to be a Bible believing Christian in New England, it's a conscious choice.
Yeah. Now, I personally, I don't have a problem with a contemporary church as long as they're preaching the gospel.
Amen. Right.
It may not be my preference or my style, but
Right.
if they are a Bible believing church and they are preaching the gospel, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It actually, this discussion is great, and I know we veered a little far away from the Catholic topic, but still, we're giving a Protestant perspective, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like what happens when you live in an area like I live is that what people experience is, what they ultimately are evaluating. That's why I mentioned up here the contemporary churches would probably say, look at all these churches in New England that are traditional and that are not presenting the gospel. And they're right.
Mm, mm.
That's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just before we move on, Tim, could you pull up Tony Parkinson's comment where he asked what's PCA versus
Yes.
PCUSA?
Yes,
And
that would be good
Kobe,
for.
not to throw you on the spot, but maybe you could explain that a little bit better than I could with me not being there. But all I'll
Um,
say briefly is with PCUSA, the way I remember it is the one with the extra letters is the one that has all the extra garbage attached.
Pretty much. PCA is your more conservative um, brand of Presbyterianism, whereas PCUSA, they're very liberal. Like when I said a lesbian pastor, that's not far fetched. Um, they believe in women pastors. They believe in homosexual pastors. They now again, not all of them are like this. I know there's some out there that are they've always been PCUSA and they're trying to reform it, if you will. Um, but for the most part, you're going to run into it's kind of like what you've seen the Methodist churches go through, the United Methodists. You just had that split to where they're like, you've got this conservative group over here. They're like, wait a minute, we didn't sign up for this. Um, but whereas a PCA church, like my previous church, my pastor wore the black robe like R.C. Sproul does, or R.C. Sproul did. He says, I die to myself when I come to the pulpit. Um, my current pastor wears a suit, which again is fine. But again, like Nicholas was saying, we have a pulpit. It's front and center. We don't have a little stand and all this. And my pastor does preach from an iPad as far as where his notes are, but he also has his open Bible and he reads his scripture from his Bible. He doesn't read his scripture from his iPad. That's just where his notes are. So your PCA is going to be more gospel centered, I would say, versus your PCUSA. Now, you could possibly, now we've got a PCUSA here local. I've looked on their website. It doesn't seem to be very liberal. I could be wrong. I've not ever visited there, but it seems to be pretty, pretty sound. Again, I don't know. I haven't visited, but yeah, that's typically going to be your major difference between the two. Yeah. So,
yeah.
And OPC is going to be more like a PCA too. So,
we where I live have some Baptist churches that are in the mainline Baptist denomination that are really solid. I'm thinking of like right near my area. So even with these old mainline denominations, you can find some good, and hopefully that's a sign of maybe a trend. I hope to see. Now, I know if I bring up what is his name, Redeemed Zoomer, that's Nicholas's favorite topic.
Definitely not.
No. So, Nicholas, you're not necessarily hopeful for the mainline denominations.
It's hard. I don't know. It's just,
Yeah.
I think, a lot of it is personally my preference. So yes, my preference plays a part. But just there's some things that happen where you can look at certain denominations and you just kind of have to think like it's noble in a sense to try and take it back, but I think there may just be sometimes where you might just have to look and go, yeah, that might be too far gone. That might be too liberal now. That might just, we should probably just separate ourselves and say, no, this is what we stand on. So it's not that I wouldn't say I'm not hopeful. It's just sometimes I think, and I don't think Christians like doing this very often because they'll often get told they're being, curmudgeons or whatever. Yeah. But sometimes you just have to be realistic and say, look, I think we need to just take a step back. So my thing with Redeemed Zoomer is I don't know the guy personally. I've had a few interactions with him on X. I personally find him to be needlessly provocative, and I also find him just immature in a lot of ways. But I know there's some men out there, some young men especially, that I am close with who do like his stuff. And I'll give him his credit. He's a very sharp young man. He's very intelligent. I just wish maturity would kick in a little bit quicker for him.
Yeah, because it's hard to tell when he's being sarcastic or when he's serious.
Yes.
Like after Pope Francis died, I don't know if you saw or not, he said he firmly believed Pope Francis was in heaven. And I'm like, are you being funny or are you being serious? That's one of those you don't want to interact with because you don't know what he's doing there.
Well, you see, on that one, I'm fairly sure he does believe that, though.
Well, and I kind of wondered that, but
yeah.
And then again, only God knew his heart. I mean, I don't know, but like I said earlier, if he was truly a true Catholic, probably not.
Yeah.
And that's sad. I don't. Yeah.
There's a part of. Go ahead.
Sorry. No. I was just going to say briefly, there was a poll done on X. It was by a large account I follow, so I can't remember the name now, so forgive me. But they did a poll that asked Protestants purely, do they think Francis is in heaven? And only 24% answered yes, affirmatively. The majority poll option was I don't know, but I think not. And yeah, the no's closely followed, but so
yeah. I think Redeemed Zoomer is fascinating, and there's a part of me that would really like to have him on. I agree with you, Nicholas. I think he would have said that, in all seriousness, he would have thought that Pope Francis would be in heaven, because I think he thinks of Pope Francis as being a great pope and really helping Protestant Catholic relations.
Yeah.
And Redeemed Zoomer is he's in a mainline denomination. He's
Yep. USA.
PCUSA.
Yep.
Hmm.
Again,
And
just to
he
clarify.
admits. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, that's okay. I was just saying that with him being in that denomination, um, he does try to push for what he calls theological conservatism, but it's all relative. I've experienced this many times. If my background's fundamentalist, and if you're in the fundamentalist world, evangelicals are liberal. I'm serious.
Yeah. No. Yep.
It,
No. I agree.
but you get to parts of the evangelical world, they're actually very comfortable with mainline people, at least if they're more conservative. But when you
Hmm.
get into the mainline world, what they consider liberal is just so far removed from what Bible believing Christians experience. So I feel like that's where Redeemed Zoomer is coming from. He's
Yeah.
really much more conservative than his denomination is. But to us, that's still not that
He's still
conservative.
very liberal. Yeah. He's still
Yeah.
very liberal, though.
Yeah.
And I don't want to speak too much more on him because he's not here to defend himself, and I don't want
Well,
to
like I
make it
said,
seem
I'd
like
be I'd
I.
I'd be open to having him on sometime.
Yeah,
Actually,
and
so
I don't want to make it seem like I have a personal gripe with the guy. I just do find
yeah,
him very immature on his online
right,
interactions, but
right.
that's neither here nor there right now. All I'm saying is he himself recognizes that his denomination is very liberal because his
Mm.
mentor is actually from the PCA. So, like, he knows and he's getting mentored by someone from a more conservative tradition. He sees himself as trying to rescue the PCUSA, but again, and I know he would disagree with me on this, but I think he honestly just needs to look at it and go, it's too far gone. Like, it really is. Like, they are so entrenched in, female ordination, gay pastors, like, you name it. As it's already been stated, not every PCUSA church is like that, but the denomination as a whole is becoming increasingly. It's pretty much like the Church of England over here. The Church of England does not even. They're vying now to remove the term church from their name.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I mean, at least that might be accurate if
Yeah.
Yes.
if they're not following Christ's
Hmm.
teachings.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
That's why I say, like, it's not popular to say it because sometimes I think people look at you and go, "Oh, you're being a defeatist." God could turn it around. Absolutely, God can, but the question is God, or is God telling you, you know what, come out?
Mm. Mm. Yeah.
Well, he would say that the problem is that conservatives have retreated, and so I think this is a great discussion, but I'm afraid we're going to get really off course if we keep going with it. So
Yeah.
uh, I think we should really shift and make sure we cover
Yeah, yeah.
the
Mhm.
article. Like I said at the beginning, we would talk about
Mm.
the. So let me bring that up. This was a controversy that did come up. I saw it on X. It started with a Christianity Today article. Was Jesus was Jesus crucified with nails? I'm kind of laughing just because. I'm sorry. Yeah, this came out in Christianity Today on April 14th, I think, which is like right before the Good Friday Easter season. I mean, I get it. Like that's a pertinent subject matter for the time of season, but of all the things to
Yeah.
say, so are you guys were you following this particular controversy? It seems like
Yeah,
you guys were familiar with it. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'll let you
um,
go first, brother, because I don't have a lot to say on this. Like, I do have a lot to say, but I'm going to choose my words very carefully. I'll put it that way.
Well, they've since issued an apology. I don't know if
I was going to bring that up.
I
Yeah.
think it's on there, but yeah. But I tell you, it when I saw that, I'm like, you ever heard of Isaiah 53? He was pierced for our transgressions. Thomas said, unless I touch where the nails were, doesn't say anything about rope burns. It doesn't say anything about, anything like that. So that just, it blew my mind. And honestly, at the same time though, I wasn't surprised because part of my background before I became Presbyterian was I grew up Baptist and I went to a Southern Baptist church, but I was exiting the Southern Baptist Convention about the same time Russell Moore was. So anything touches, I'm not surprised at when it's something just so, for lack of a better term, stupid like this, to even think this way. So yeah, I wasn't, I was surprised, but then again, I wasn't surprised. And I'm trying to find a what do you call it? A post now, I guess you could say, instead of a tweet on X that, I don't know if you guys follow the WWUT.
Yes.
Yeah, I knew the account you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, and he had a very here it is. He says the Bible according to Christianity today. He was roped for our transgressions, Isaiah 53:5. A company of evildoers encircles me. They have roped my hands and feet, Psalm 22:16. Unless I see the rope burns on his hands and feet, John 20:25. I mean, it's funny, but it sounds so dumb. But it kind of fits, based on this article. But once you get into the article and you'll see the scholar that they talk about that teaches at the university, this guy, part of his bio says something about he just hopes that the new Narnia series on Netflix that they do it justice. I'm like, well, they've already got Glenn Close voicing Aslan, so or Aslan, so no, they're not going to do it justice because Aslan is Christ. Christ was a man, is a man. He doesn't need to be voiced by a female, so no. So I take anything that man already says with a grain of salt. But anyway, but yeah, this was just utter ridiculousness.
Yep.
So the author of it posted on X, and this was really interesting. I clearly messed up. I'm sorry. And then
sorry, I'm just looking at his bio. Journalist, historian, church deacon.
Yeah, I actually have that too. This is what they have on Christianity Today, if I have the right person.
Oh, he lives in East Tennessee. He lives near me because I'm in East Tennessee.
I think this is the right person.
It is, yeah.
Daniel Silliman. He's a senior news editor. He was previously a crime reporter outside of Atlanta. Earned a doctorate in American Studies from the University of Heidelberg in Germany. Yeah, lives in East Tennessee. Yeah, so he did admit that, he really messed up, but this is the kind of the follow-up article, nailing down the truth of Christ's crucifixion, apologizing for what I got wrong, reporting on an idiosyncratic view on how Jesus died. And he gives a little short apology here. What's key, though, is he says, I didn't think about John 20:25 and the implication of the idea that Thomas was mistaken to think the resurrected Jesus would have nail marks. This is really a key point.
That's
and this is what frustrates me about liberal trajectories. A lot of times it's just not reading what's obvious. Like literally in the book of John, Thomas is like, can I feel the nail prints? You know what I mean? It's like,
right.
What?
And has he even ever read the book of John? I mean,
I think what I personally would imagine is he has. But when you're sitting with a scholar and they're raising yes. Yeah, I know, scholar. But that's what a lot of times academia does. It gets people into these really convoluted ways of thinking. I love this one guy, I think his name's Jay Bajetsky. he was actually talking about himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there are some forms of stupidity one has to be highly intelligent to achieve.
Yeah.
And he was talking about like
Mm-hmm.
mental processes he went through at certain times of his life because he's a smart person. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes scholars have to be careful. They overthink things. They really do.
Yeah.
Just read the book of John. It's not that hard.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
you see, here's the thing though, but like, there's a lot I could say about this guy that I won't, because you gentlemen have already alluded to it as well.
You're talking about which guy though? The because I feel like
the
there's
author. Someone on my account pointed out that his second name is basically Silly Man, which in that post was accurate. But all I would say in regards to him is, first of all, I appreciate his apology. But I also kind of wonder, was it more just from because of how much traction the article got? However,
negative traction.
my biggest issue with it is not necessarily him. Tim, could you pull up Leslie Ladyhawk's comment, please?
Sure. About Justin Peters?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So Justin Peters has called it Christianity astray, and others have said they might as well just drop the Christianity and just call the thing today. Not just because of this article. Over this last year or so, that magazine, that outlet, has been producing increasingly woke articles that really do attack the faith subtly. And the thing is, Russell Moore is the chief editor. So here's the thing: I write my own articles in Substack, but before my articles go anywhere on Substack, I run them through my group chat boys, who will do checks to make sure that I'm not strawmanning anyone's position. It's run through someone who proofreads it for me, and then it's finally uploaded. Mistakes still sometimes do happen. But the thing is, this article went through all their editors and was still approved. Now, Russell Moore, who's meant to be, I forget what his position was in the SBC, because that's not my world, I don't know. But
the ERLC.
Yeah, very
Ethics.
high up in it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And people now for years have been pointing out that Russell has a very, very liberal slant to him. This, to me, kind of proves it, because this article would have had to have run past his desk. So unless he's just, approving articles willy-nilly, which is a really bad practice, or he approved it thinking that it would be okay, because here's the thing, you've already hinted to it yourself, that there's this idea in being a scholar that, thinking outside the box, or, maybe it wasn't always the way we thought it was. Maybe now we've found new evidence that suggests, it could have been this way. It misses the plain and obvious. Like, even in Colossians, it talks about our record of debt Christ nailed to the cross.
Yep.
Didn't say he roped it to the cross. He nailed it. So
Yep.
my issue is not primarily with the guy that wrote the article. I do think the article was dumb, and I think it was hasty. I appreciate the gentleman's apology. My issues with Christianity today, they are going increasingly liberal with every article they get. And for the fact that this article even got to print, so to speak, shows you that there's people in charge there that either saw no issue with it or just didn't care. And I think
it's probably both.
Yep.
Well,
and I think the only reason an apology came out is because of how viral that post went.
Well, yes. And actually, I wonder, I'm going to show you this too. Ed Stetzer, who is not he's not a critical person. Like, he's not one to normally criticize. He says the CT magazine article was Jesus Crucified with Nails was disappointing in many ways, including the fact that it cast doubt on the historicity of John's gospel. Talbot Theology's Gary Manning explains it also misses the historical context of nails and crucifixions. And there's a really good article, I think it might be this one here that he references. Yeah. So I'll show you that. And I do recommend people read this article. So I think what happened is Christianity Today was getting called out. They don't care about like the super conservative people. But when people kind of in their own camp, these are very broad-minded evangelicals. People like Gavin Ortland would probably say that original article doesn't pass the test.
Yeah.
Right? So
Right.
this is a much better article that gives more information if you want to know the biblical and historical evidence for Jesus being crucified with nails. Because that's the thing. It's the evidence is all there, and it's not people being nitpicky.
No.
This is just a matter of what does the Bible clearly teach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's got some Andy Stanley isms to it, in my
Yep.
opinion. The way that Christianity
The
Today
original
article is
article.
written. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know what
Yeah,
you're saying.
because in that article, he doesn't just say that it wasn't just nails. He actually states that he believes that those were later additions to the Book of John.
Yeah, because it was written after the Romans started using nails as part of the crucifixion. And I'm
So
like,
yeah.
I was going to say too, in connection with what you said, Nicholas, about Christianity Today, Babylon Bee pounced on this issue, and here was their take: Christianity Today, Jesus may not have existed, and the Bible is a lie, and God is dead. So I think they're picking up on those vibes that you were talking about, the trajectory. Yeah. Oh man.
As I say, like it's if anyone's seeing this for the first time and like has never seen anything from Christianity Today, you might think we're being harsh.
No.
Honestly, no. Within this last, it's probably a lot longer, but honestly, within this last year in particular, their articles and their headlines have got increasingly liberal and increasingly and subtly casting doubt on the historicity, not only of the Gospels, but like the Bible in general.
Yeah.
And it's a publication I would honestly tell people just to stay away from, just avoid it.
Yeah. And when they hired Russell Moore, I knew that was a bad look, because I remember at the convention, I guess it was his last SBC convention, he's famously known for saying that a denomination that doesn't have room for Beth Moore doesn't have room for Russell Moore. And when they both left, it was like, well, okay, nothing's going to be met here. But yeah, when they hired him on, and and it was a big deal, I was like, yeah, that just marks them on the list. Add them to the list of heresy. So, I mean, I don't want to throw that out just yet, but yeah.
Yeah.
Now there are some things. It's interesting as we're talking. Someone just asked this question. Did I hear right recently that CT was started by Billy Graham?
Yeah,
I think that's true. And
it is. Yeah.
Did you guys see the picture of Franklin Graham? Oh man, I'm not sure if I'm getting this right. I want to say Franklin Graham was with the Pope. Is that right? Did you see that picture?
I saw something about that. Yeah.
The reason I'm bringing that up is Billy Graham was the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what I was trying to explain earlier. You have to think of a spectrum. Conservative evangelicals will sometimes get over into territory that overlaps with fundamentalism, but liberal, or I shouldn't say liberal, I should say evangelicals that are more on the other side of the spectrum will rub shoulders with mainline. And Billy Graham could be that way, much more ecumenical in his outlook and approach. And I think Franklin Graham, I could be wrong on that. I don't want to say something wrong, but I thought there was maybe a picture of him.
No, there was. I'm looking at it.
Oh, no, he's met with the Pope on numerous times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Winger commented and said weird.
Yeah, that's where I saw it. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So it's nothing new. Even what you're talking about, Christianity Today has probably always been, not strictly speaking, the most conservative publication.
Right.
But at certain points in history, I think that starts to come out more. And I think I actually predict that we're entering into a corrective time. That's why I pointed out those people that were correcting the article. These weren't even the most critical people. And even they're saying, nope, this is going too far. We gotta stop this.
Yes.
To me, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
So I hope that happens with Christianity today, or that they don't go astray.
Well, yeah.
I think they already have.
Yeah,
Maybe they'll
yeah,
come back.
yeah. Maybe.
They could, but I would also say sometimes it's just good that things like that just cease.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's sometimes what?
Just if they cease, sometimes I think certain publications, whatever, I think they get to a certain line. I don't think they'll ever recover their reputation really amongst especially amongst conservative Christians. But to be honest, I think it would just be better if that publication was no longer around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Depending on the world, we've brought up Southern Baptists a little bit here, and Southern Baptists always talk about how their denomination struggled years ago with liberalism, but it managed to somehow veer back. So, that's always the hope, is that there is a way to bring something back. I hear what you're saying, though. You do wonder if it ever could. But with Russell Moore, the thing that keeps popping into my head when we mention him is I think he used to be different. And I don't know. Have you known about Russell Moore for a long time, Coby?
Yes and no.
Okay.
When I started learning more about him is when he started having the drift.
Okay.
But
Because I
do
read
believe
stuff from him probably like in the late 2000s, before 2010.
Yeah,
And
I think he used
thought
to
he
be
was
pretty
real solid.
Yeah, I think he used to be. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I still have it. I'm looking over here on my bookshelf, but I have a book from him called Forward that he wrote. That I'm a Christian hip hop guy. I listen to a lot of Christian hip hop, and I know I look like it, don't I?
That's what I would have thought.
But Flame, who is now a Lutheran, used to be a Reformed Baptist, and he did an album in conjunction with that book. And from my understanding, and I read the book, and the book was solid. So yes, I think at one point Russell was very considered conservative and solid. I think he just kind of started drifting. You know, I don't know why, or whatever, or I just wonder if some of these people have always been that way and their true colors are coming out. Like Beth Moore, I kind of mentioned her. Like there for a while, there's a lot of people that think that Lifeway had somebody ghostwriting her Bible studies, because her Bible studies used to be very solid for women, and then it started where they started just getting bad. And of course, we know she's kind of off the rails, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Like I said, we're kind of in this swinging toward a different direction, but that's not always great in every way, because
No.
even in the reformed world, which I've been able to observe more, I see weird things.
Yes. Yes.
Nicholas and I talk about it. Yeah. We talked about Corey Mahler on this channel just as an example.
Oh my gosh.
And that's an extreme, but there are less extreme stuff that still kind of moves in those directions. That's like,
You're gonna get my blood pressure up mentioning that guy's name.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
I wish I could go back to a time before I knew who he was. I can't deal with racist, and he's a racist.
Yeah.
I don't care what he says. He is a flat out racist. I don't even consider him a brother, and the fact that people do and they follow him just blows my mind. So,
but that's in the Reformed world, and
I think he's more Lutheran, isn't he?
True.
He is Lutheran.
I should say that's in the Protestant world, in the Reformation umbrella. But you're right; that would be more Lutheran. You're right. But probably, it's more obviously Stone Choir, his podcast, that's its own thing. But then you have these people that are kind of like, it sounds like they're drawing from it, and they're in the Reformed world, and that's where it's a little like,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, unfortunately there's things you can point to in every denomination like that. That's the issue. It's just the way I take it is I tend to look at denominations as a whole and consider, are you faithful on the whole? Yes, you may have some weirdos in you, but are you faithful on the whole? And that's true of like even denominations that I'm not particularly partial to. So like I know people might listen to this and think I have like a real bad opinion of like evangelicals. I don't. My issue is more with evangelicalism, like just that real sort of like circus type church. That to me is just I'm sorry, but you're playing at church. That's what you're really doing. And to be honest, you're playing with fire, because God tells us He takes how He is worshipped very, very seriously. And in all honesty, I think it's because of the grace of God that a lot of people are not struck down out of like just pure and utter ignorance. But what I would say as a whole is, even within the Reformed camp, there are some voices out there that I warn people, do not listen to.
I agree. And I don't want people to think that I'm anti-Southern Baptist, because I'm not. If I was lived in Colton's hometown, I would absolutely attend his church. And it's a Southern Baptist church. Correct me if I'm wrong, Colton, but I believe you are Southern Baptist. But yeah, I would totally attend his church and have no issues about it whatsoever.
There we go. So you guys are okay with Baptist, and thank you. That's great to get that.
100%.
Yeah.
They just need to go ahead and baptize the babies when they do their baby dedications.
Well, if you're coming to our church, that's not going to happen. Sorry. So I took that as, you're basically conceding. You're good with us, so.
No, we just add water to the baby dedication. So, that's
water to the baby dedication. Just sprinkle them while we're doing it.
Here's a really good example, though, because seeing as how we did start off talking about Roman Catholicism and we're talking about tradition, during COVID, you had priests baptize, or well, I probably shouldn't say, no, it wasn't baptizing, so I need to clarify that. It definitely wasn't. But you had priests blessing people with holy water from water pistols because they didn't want to get too close.
I saw
so
that.
They're even within, what you could say that they claim to be very unchanged throughout the years. You have priests, again, I keep saying baptizing, blessing people with a water pistol. Now, to be fair, the Roman Catholic Church as a whole says, no, that was a couple of parishes. We don't stand by that. And that's fine. Like, I can turn around and say, okay, those were abuses then. But it just goes to show, even within very strict, very, ancient forms of worship, you will still get priests or pastors or, even laymen who will offer strange fire, shall we say that. So it's not unique in one camp. So it's not me up here, being like a church snob. It's just I have my preference, I have my convictions, and I have to worship God according to my conscience.
Yep. Yeah, that's very Stephen Furtick of them, getting the super soaker out to baptize the baby. So
I think Western culture, with its pluralism, its secularism, all of that is just, causing a lot of confusion.
And just like a lot of things, I think social media has ruined lots of things, and I think that it's in churches in the way of that. If you're a pastor of a church and you see, your neighboring pastor down the road here, well, look at that new sound system he's got. Oh man, look, they've got All Max running their stuff, their audio and video. We need to get All Max. Oh, look at those new lights they've got. Oh, we got to get those. Oh, they got a guitar player now. Oh, I think it's a keeping up with the Joneses, and it's much easier to do now because of social media. So, just my opinion.
Yeah, no, social media is feeding into it, and again, it's a product of the kind of culture we live in. So, but the good news is, it's not outside of God's
God is sovereign.
Yeah, he knows how history is unfolding. He's in control of all of this, so it's nothing for us to ultimately be, completely overwhelmed by or anything. It's just these are the challenges we face in our day, and the church has always faced challenges, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything, it should actually be encouraging because, like, yes, you are seeing an awful lot of. And again, if you look at the stats, I must actually get them for some show sometime because I keep referring to them and I don't actually bring them up. But if you look at the stats of young men turning to Orthodoxy or Roman Catholicism, it's quite a large number, and they're leading their families to it. And what do they often say? They'll say things like, "I was fed up of smoke machines. I was fed up of like." You already said it, brother. Jesus is my boyfriend song. They're fed up with this very worships about me atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're a church out there and you don't have a big budget for smoke machines or microphones or lights, great. You don't need them because the young people today are hungry for the word of God.
Yep.
Preach it, sing psalms, sing spiritual songs, get them in the doors. They want depth. They don't want to be spoon-fed entertainment. They've got that around them so much that they're sick of it. Like even here now, I have 3 screens in front of me. That's why you see me looking back and forth. We are so saturated with screens and media and Netflix and you name it. That's why whenever it does come to church worship, young people now really are craving depth. And Protestant churches do need to up their game. And I would say actually take a step back from all the fancy tech media. Go to what the church has had for years upon years. The Word of God, baptism, communion, singing psalms, meals together, fellowship. That's it. That's all you need.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, get back to the basics.
Get back to the basics.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of opportunity. I agree because people are fed up with the emptiness of culture too. I heard of testimony of a guy today who actually used to travel with Richard Dawkins, and I think he had grown up in a Christian background, but he left it and he became an atheist and really thought Richard Dawkins, the atheist scientist, was amazing. He really followed that. But things that really transformed his thinking were his daughter, his birth of his daughter, and kind of I guess she had a real serious situation when she was born, but that really impacted him. And then also COVID, and he saw that Christians during COVID were a lot of the ones who were standing up for good things, and it really made an impression on him. And so I actually think Christians are growing in popularity right now, in a lot of ways. Of course, we have to be careful because just because we're maybe at the moment becoming more popular, we have to be careful not to let that get us into the wrong way of thinking. It doesn't matter whether we're popular or not, right? We just need to be faithful.
Amen.
All right. So, do you guys have anything else you want to mention? Because we're about to say goodbye to the audience. And one more time, let me throw up Coby's channel here.
Yeah, go subscribe,
please. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers. Once I get there, I got some stuff I'm going to give away.
Nice. And yeah, he has a lot
What are you at currently, brother?
Do what?
What are you at currently, subscriber-wise?
477, according to Tim's.
Well, there is, by my calculations, I may be wrong, but there's at least 27 people in the chat here. So if you all go over and subscribe, you'll give them a good boost.
Yep.
Yeah.
Please
We actually have a total of 50, I think, across platforms just listening right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would put you right over your goal there. That'd be great. All right. Well, this has been a great conversation, and thanks to the audience for all of your input and sticking with us. And thanks most of all to Nicholas and Coby for really good insights today. It's been really fun.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys having me on. It means a lot.
Absolutely. And we'll hopefully have you on again in the future too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And hopefully I have a lot more energy because I'm kind of zonked this week. So
yeah, keep Nicholas in prayer. He definitely was sharing some health issues, and he's trying to recuperate.
Yeah.
So really, we want to see him back to full energy.
Yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks, audience. We'll say goodbye to you now, and we're planning to see you next week at the same time, and we have another guest lined up for next week, and we'll announce the topic and everything as the week goes on here, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.